and I started being educated in a high school, let's say, in a Catholic high school. And because of the exposure to music by Bach and so on, I was interested in becoming part of the choir. At that time, I did not know anything about music. A self-taught piano, unable to read the notes at first. So as Julia said, or you said, at age 46, really, I started delving into music. I was totally ignorant, but the choir director, a very nice priest, just welcomed me among his tenors, and I became a tenor. It just so happened that a very good friend of mine at the time was an excellent pianist and was the organist at the same time. And as you know, in the European church, what we call the jubé in French is where the organ and the choir stands in the back of the church together. Configuration of American churches are different. So I was there for all let's say services for our high school, Catholic high school, in the chapel, right there with all those other boys. It was a boys' school. And at age 12, when my voice had changed, I became, instead of the alto I used to be before, I became the tenor. Often soprano mutate into bass, and alto mutate into tenor. So I was a tenor. And so I did, and I was exposed to the organ because of my friend, who was an excellent organist and a virtuoso pianist. And so I was there, and when I had time, I would fiddle with that, but kind of thinking of it as a piano in a way, not understanding at all, but the fear of the instrument had vanished. And remember that Mozart called the organ, the pipe organ, the king of instruments. There's some reason, and it's interesting that Mozart, with his genius, never went as far as writing for organ like Bach did. I think it can be a very intimidating instrument, to put it that way, to compose for it maybe. So all that, I was not a composer at all at the time, and it just so happened that one day, as we were on a mission to sing at a wedding mass.
Yes.
The whole choir was invited. There were hardly any tenor, and I happened to have to sing the solo parts in Schubert's G Mass in G. That was quite intimidating, but the choir director helped me so much, just pronouncing without saying a word all the words that I pulled through, and that gave me self-confidence. And so those type of events made me the atmosphere, in a way, fall in love with the organ. And I had some friends who had organs at home, not to go into details, but my life has been much more than piano, strings, and brass. It's really in the background, a love for the organ.
Yeah.
And when I finished my studies at Western Michigan University, I started thinking of writing a piece for organ. And one day, I called my piano teacher. I said, "Listen, Phyllis," she was a very old lady, about my age now. And I said, "Phyllis, I'm writing a piece for organ. Can you recommend me someone to help me?" And she said yes, and she gave me the name of Reverend Dr. Karl Schrock, who was the chair of the Michigan chapter of the American Guild of Organists. I could not have found any better organist in the world, the kindest person I can think of. He's still a very good friend, by the way, and he lives in Michigan. So that's what got me really started. And at the same time, as I was starting to work with him, I went to the library, get all the books I can about organ to understand what the king of instruments really was about. And that became a long work with Carl to follow all my work week by week and to come to the organ suite as we know. But then there was something that happened as he performed the organ suite. I was I thought it fell short in a way, and that the second movement could be replaced by something else eventually. And that's when I thought of writing the Ave Maria years later, in 2007, 2008. And at the end, that's what we, Lyrica classical artists and Julia are performing with David on the 28th. The piece has how I originally conceived without knowing I was conceiving. And to me, it's really fascinating how all those different strands going back to generation in any way do convert, and we do not know. But we have to have the honesty and the sincerity to follow through the weak signals that we are getting, and to be, it's a way to be faithful.
Yeah.
And so that's the story of the piece. Thank you for listening to me.